Good day, everyone. I'm Justine Ballares, and I've been working as a full stack developer for more than 3 years. And today I'm going to discuss continuous delivery for Python with feature flags. So first, what is CI/CD? CI, or continuous integration, is a software development practice where code changes are regularly merged into a shared repository so that it can get validated. And the purpose of CI is to make sure that the branches are all stable and in a releasable state. And also to avoid long-hanging branches or branches that are causing issues when going to be merged on the main branch. And next is we have continuous deployment. Is a software development practice where building, testing, and deployments are automated using pipelines. And we also have the term continuous delivery. So we have here a diagram for CI/CD. So on the first level, we have continuous integration. And in continuous integration, code changes and are being handled on the source control, and it gets validated on the pipeline if it conforms to the style guides of the team or company. And next level is we have continuous delivery. So it also includes the continuous integration. So from source control and building and unit testing, and also deployment to test environment for integration tests, load tests, and other tests. And it needs approval for deploying to production. And we have the next level, which is the continuous deployment. So it's a similar process. We have source control, build, and staging. But this time, the deployment to production is also automated. And next, we have the benefits of CI/CD. So first is to reduce size of release. So by having frequent releases, it reduces the sizes of the release, and it can help in easy tracking of issues since there are few changes that comes into the deployment. And we have improved developer productivity. Since pipelines handle most of the repetitive tasks in CI/CD, developer can focus on working on improvement of codes or creating new features. And we have increased collaboration. Since developers need to merge frequently, they need to communicate more often so that the other developers know what they are working on and if the main branch is already updated. And we also have find and address bugs quicker. Since testing is being automated, it can notify the developers when their codes are causing some issues. And we have deliver updates faster. So by having those four that I mentioned previously, then we have a stable and releasable branch that we can easily uh, release to different users. And we have lower costs for testing since pipeline can handle the testing, and it can also reduce the cost for server since unused server for testing can be automatically shut down by the pipeline and only spin up when needed. And we have this progressive exposure techniques, which is used in how the codes are being released to user. So we have deployment rings, blue-green deployment, and feature flags. And the main focus for today is feature flags as mentioned in the introduction. So what is feature flags? Feature flag introduces a conditional control to the code on a live or running environment so that we can easily enable or disable features while it is running on production. So we have here a sample code from using Python. So we have here treatment, which is also the value for the flag. So if the treatment is turned on, then we can serve the new implementation of the feature. And if it's turned off, we can serve the old implementation of the feature. So it's simple as that. And we have the control treatment. So when servers are down for fetching the feature flag, we can handle the control, we can provide them with the control treatment so that we can create a fallback. And we have feature flag use cases for developers. So we have trunk or mainline development. So by having toggles on the feature, we can easily work on the main branch, and we can just turn off some features that are not yet completed. Same goes with continuous delivery. So we can, since the deployment for CI/CD is continuous, when changes or causing issues, we can use feature flags to disable it. So we can also test in production and kill a feature, which is all connected to previously mentioned uh, use cases. And we also have use cases for product managers. So we have experimentations, which is used for serving different features for different users, like A/B testing, so that we can analyze and see if the features are working well for a set of users. Then we can use that to implement for all the users. And we have paywalls or subscription-based feature. So if the user is not subscribed or is not a premium user, we can disable some of the features for that specific user. And how can it help in CI/CD? So first one is controlled releases. Since we can enable and disable a specific feature, we can easily control what features will be delivered to the customer, even if it is already on the code base. And we have improved testing. So some cases we can replicate some issues in staging. Then we can temporarily enable a feature on production so that we can test it there and then temporarily, I mean, disable it afterward. And we also have safe rollback. So if the recent deployment is causing some issues, we can turn the toggles off. So uh, we just have to revert to the old behavior of the features. And faster feedback. So by having feature flags, we can have, like mentioned, is the ABI testing. We can have faster feedback for different features, and we have improved deployment process. So by having feature toggles, we can continuously deploy into the production server, regardless if the feature is incomplete. So that if it is incomplete, we can just turn it off the deployment process. So next we have managing feature flags. So we can use different management tools, but for this one, I'm going to use split.io, since this is the one that I found easier to register and also provides a free account. So let's go ahead with the split.io dashboard. So here is the dashboard, and in split.io, the feature flags are called splits. And as you can see, there are different splits that I already created. And we also have my segments, which is just the group of users, which can be used later on targeting rules. So I'll explain it later. And I have here defined these different users. And in order to create a split in the sidebar, we can just click on splits, and we have here create split, and we can provide it a name, and depending on your team, you can use different naming convention. But for now, since we're just doing a demo, we're going to use the name demo. And we have here traffic type. So the account traffic type, if you have different account types like admin, teachers, or students, you can use the account traffic type to target based on the account type. But in general cases, you want to use user so that your traffic will go to users equally. So for example, it won't matter if it is a student account or an admin account. It will just send it to the specific user. And owners, which has access to everything in the feature flag, including enabling and disabling feature flags, deleting it, and also adjusting the rules. And we can include the administrator as well as me. This is my name on the accounts for the feature flag. And we have here the tags, which is optional, but you can be pretty useful to identify what the flag is used for. So for example, we used it as a backend or front end. You can include it in the tags. And you can discuss with your team on how you want to use your tags depending. And we have here the descriptions. And descriptions are useful for providing the documentations for the feature flag on which feature it was enabled and so on. And let's go ahead and create this. Once created, you can see here the environments, and it will automatically separate production from staging so that when you enable the feature, it won't affect the production. And we have here the targeting rules. So as we've seen in the sample code, rules are just the treatments that we have seen there, and it can be used to target the specific users and as well as serve the feature flag as on or off. So let's go ahead and add the rules. So here we have the default treatment, which is turned on or off, but you can try to rename that depending on your use case. But let's leave it as it is. And we have here the individual targeting. So you can target a specific user and serve for that user, the feature is turned on. Or you can target a specific segment. So this is the one that I've shown previously. So all those three users in this segment will be served with the feature as turned on. Let's remove that for now. And we have the targeting rules, which just provide with more conditional statement with the targeting. So aside from segments, we have here if the name starts with or it's dependent with another split. And if you use this is in segment, it will just provide you with the same behavior as the one in the individual targets. So other than that, we can't use the other condition types since we it was disabled because it's not currently available for the user. And we have here the default rule. So if the user didn't match any of the individual targets and targeting rules, it will be served with the default rule. And also if you didn't create any of this targeting, then it will always serve the default rule to all the users. So let's go ahead and review our changes. So it's like you're trying to review a commit or a pull request on a repository. So you will see all your changes. And if you're satisfied with the changes, you can go ahead and save it. And now you just created your first feature flag. And in the splits, you can see all your flags, and you can put a star on them, so mark them as a favorite. And you can filter the different split by the one that you have marked as star. Yeah. And we can filter by traffic types and tags. So as we've seen, we can filter by backend. So those are the backend features that we have. And we can also filter by the front end. And if you want to delete a specific feature flag in Split, you have to delete the targeting rules first. So that is because Split doesn't allow you to delete a specific flag if it is still enabled. So there are still rules uh, that are serving the users. So this is just to make sure that the flag that you are deleting is not being used already. So once the rules are deleted, you can now delete the flag itself. So that's it for the managing a feature flag using Split. So let's move back to our slides. So now we have the feature flags best practices. So first one is plan ahead. So I mentioned that you can discuss with your team the naming conventions for the toggle, and you can also provide the configuration settings that you want. And also reviewing the removal processes and also access control. And for standardized toggle naming, we can use, if you're using Jira, for example, you can use the ticket name, or you can create your branch name from that. And you can provide a short description like the one in the code. And if you're not using Jira or other project management tools, you can include the project name, creation date, and descriptive name. And this is only a suggestion, but you can, as I mentioned, you can discuss with your team on what is your naming convention for features. And we have monitor flags so that we can ensure that the flag is being used as intended, and that it doesn't cause any issue in the system. And there are different integration tools that we can use, like Google Analytics, Sentry, Jira software, and so on. It's up to the team to decide what they want. And we also have to document the features behind the feature flag. So the usage, so where is the feature flag being used, what feature was implemented behind it, and who. So who can access the feature flag, who can enable or disable it, and who work on the feature behind it, so that you can easily track the people uh, that the people that you need if there is an issue. And we have the risk. So there are times that the feature flags might cause an issue if it was enabled or disabled, and this needs to be documented on the this to be documented. And lastly, we have the gradually sunset flags. So by sunsetting means we're trying to remove unused feature flags. So there are times that the new implementation works pretty well and there are no issues. Then you can remove the conditional statements that uses the feature flags. So this means that the new implementation is now the permanent feature on the system. And you can go ahead also and proceed with the removal of the feature flag on the management tool. And we have here the limitations or the cons of the feature flag. So we have here complexity. So there are chances that feature flags live inside another. So you have here the nested feature flags, and it might be confusing if there are many features that are nested with each other. And we have here technical debt. And technical debt, feature flag can be a technical debt if you forgot to sunset those feature flags that are not being used, since it can cause a performance issue. So as you can see in the diagram, when user requests to your server will try to fetch from the flags SDK before trying to return back to the user. So it will wait for the response from the feature flags, and then will try to respond to your users. And we have unintended consequences. So if you have a calculate budget function for a client and you have 3 treatments, and you have to test every one of every permutations that you have here. So for example, if you have disabled treatment 2, will it still work for the calculation of the budget? So you have to also consider if treatment 1 is turned off and the other 2 is turned on. So that's the one that can be a problem with the feature flag. And we have here the database migration. So if you're familiar with Django, and we have here user model, and you're trying to add a new field, which is the middle name, you try to enclose it with the split. Then you created the migration files and so on, and you already migrated to the database. So even if the treatment is turned off, the database already contained the field middle name since it's already migrated, and feature flags cannot touch the database. So let's go ahead and see that in action. So we have here an API for creating random user, and we can run this. So I've used a fast API for this, and we can send requests to our endpoint. So as you can see, we have the result, which contains email and full name. Let's go ahead and stop that for now. So for example, we want to add a new field, which is the address. Then we can use the faker to generate a random address. And you want to add here in the result. And we have to restart our server since we're not using the reload parameter. So now you can generate a random address. But before you commit these changes, you have to enclose it in a split or in a feature flag. So for that, I've created a core split SDK. This is based on the split at IO factories. And we have here init where you can provide the API key, and we have get client. This is to make sure that the client is ready before it can fetch that treatment. So the treatment is basically the value of the feature flag if it is turned on or off. And let's go ahead and create a split instance. So using the split SDK that we have used, and we can provide it the API key. So I've used the .env to handle the API key, and I've included it in the settings. This is based on the fast API configuration. So if you have the settings, it will automatically have the split key. So now that we have the split, we can now fetch a treatment. So this is the value of the feature flag by having the get treatment. So the first one is the UID. And since we didn't create a targeting rule, we can provide it with any UID that we want. So it will always serve the default one. And this is the treatment name or the split name. So if we look at our splits, I'm going to use, or I have already created this random address for that. And we can add the rules. And temporarily, it will be turned off. So let's go ahead and review changes. And we can go ahead and save it. So now we have the feature flag. We can go ahead and copy the name and paste it on our get treatment. So after that, we can use the treatment as a condition. So I've already shown you some sample codes from before. So this will be the result of the API if it is turned on. And we can have another statement if it is turned off, which should return the old behavior. So the old behavior is without the address. And we need to also include a control statement as mentioned if the split is not yet ready to serve the featured flags. And let's go ahead and restart the server. So if we send a request to our API, as you can see, it takes more time to load compared to our previous one. So there's an issue with the split. There you go. So you now have the random users without the address. So if we go back to our split and turn it on and review our changes. Without restarting the server, we can go ahead and send the request. So now, as you can see, the address is now being included. And without restarting the server, we managed to do that. And if you want to test the control treatment, you can remove the rule. So this basically means that the feature flag is not ready to be served since there are no rules. The system doesn't know if it should be on or off. And let's try to send again. As you can see, it now returns the control treatment or not. So that's it for the discussion for feature flags in Python. And I hope you learn something that you can use in your journey as you are doing your developer as a Python.
For your example, Sir Justin, like you for that specific feature flag, you had to manually write and decode for adding the SDKs, right? Like,
Uh, for Python, there's no like default installable in pip the package. So we had to like create our own class for the split so that we can easily manage it on our own. It depends on your use case.
okay, okay. You've also talked about a while ago that one of the cons of working with feature flags is that it's complex, right? So I would like to ask, how do you mitigate it in general? Like, how do you ensure that it's not really going to be a hindrance to the developers?
So for the complexity, in order to reduce the complexity on the code, we need to make sure that there there's no like nested, if possible, there's no nested feature flags within feature flags, and we can achieve that by having the CI/CD with frequent merge.
I see, I see. Also, with regards to adding feature flag or maybe continuous deployment in general, like, do we need to have additional knowledge in cloud in order for us to actually implement a lot of the things that you've mentioned? Like AWS specific or Azure specific or Google Cloud specific?
We For that, I think there's two things that you have to consider. If you're working as a developer, then I think you can work on feature flags uh, without having to worry about those AWS structures. But if you're working as a DevOps, I think you have to also study and integrate it in your like in your deployment process.
All right. Okay. So one good question that was asked here by Jomar is split.io doable into infrastructure as code?
We haven't tried that yet, but I think it should be possible.
I see, I see. Okay. So Almira has asked us as well, like, what is the advantage of using split.io versus creating your own feature flag management?
Um, for using split.io over creating your own, since there are already some tools in the cloud that is provided by split.io, you can easily manage your own feature flags. But if you're planning to create your own like feature flag management, the advantage for creating your own is that you can put it in the same server with your uh, you can put it in the same server with your application so that it reduces the delay when fetching the flags if it is turned on or off. So I think
Mm.
that's the benefits of using Split, and also there's a benefits for using the your own feature flag management.
Yeah, I see. So it basically has to depend on the use case. That's what matters the most. But for
Yeah,
starters,
if you're starting for feature flag, you can go with Split since it provides all the tools that you need and it's simpler.
good point, good point. Eric, also related to split.io, he also asks, do you really need to use these feature flag management systems like split.io? Or can feature flagging be implemented through something like using environment variables?
The thing with environment variables is that the for example, if you have a web application, in order to reflect the environment variable, you need to restart the server or restart your web application. But for feature flags, the purposes of feature flag is that you don't have to touch the web application and you can just turn the toggle on and off basically on the management tools.
Ah, okay, I see. So basically, what the difference with using just environment variables is that if you're using feature flag management systems, you're basically saying that you're basically allowing yourself the ability to opt in or opt out without opt in or opt out of features without actually touching the server, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike environment variables. Okay, so while other people are still writing their questions, I have another question that I have with regards to the addition of feature flags. So, with regards to feature flags, I believe that as companies scale, as products scale, they will need to use feature flags indefinitely as part of their continuous deployment. Um, the question that I have is it also okay for feature flags for smaller projects? Should I use feature flags for smaller projects, like for example, a possible portfolio website or the likes? Or there is a threshold that you must first cross before using continuous deployment as a whole?
Uh, on my end, in my opinion, I think if you're working on a personal project, there shouldn't be much feature that is being deployed to your project. And the only person that is touching the code is basically you. So I think it's better for like small or personal projects to be not to be using the feature flags. But if you're working on medium to large teams, it should be helpful. And if you're also working on a large project with many features that need to be created.
Yeah, good point. Speaking of which, given that when it comes to small projects, it's okay to not use feature deployment, but as you scale, you have to use it. How do you personally, for the developers out here, how do you personally convince your team manager that, hey, we should stop integrating this manually? We should try to use feature flags already because we're at the scale. How do you convince the management to adopt to those kinds of practices?
I think for that we need to present it properly on why we need it. So for example, since we're working on a project, then we have a project management tool like Jira, and you can present them with the features that needs to be implemented, and we can discuss that this feature there are lots of features that needs to go in. So we can probably use a feature flag for this to prevent the prevent it prevent issues on deployment on production. Like I mentioned, there is a safe rollback with feature flag without having to restart the application.
Yeah, good point. And nothing can, I guess, the best convincing argument for the management is that you can ensure that if something happens in production, you can immediately roll back and, undo every last change that you have. So yeah, that's about it on my end. How about you guys? Do you guys have any other questions for the audience out there? Going once, going twice. It looks like everyone's okay. Oh, wait. Oh, as per Zorex, for flaky features or integrations, we usually have feature flags enabled for beta users. As per him. I guess that's about it. I guess the last thing that I would like to ask is for individuals who think that this is actually a good idea, outside of using split.io, do you have any recommendations as to where they can start practicing feature flags?
I haven't tried any other feature flags, but if since we're on Python, I think there's a Django package which can help you with creating your own feature flag management.